Welcome to Learning in the Making Live. My name is Linda, and that voice you just heard was Devin Marie. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Bárbara, coming from all the way Baja, California.
Hola, Linda. I'm really happy to be here today. Thanks for the invite. And hello, everyone. My name is Bárbara. I'm an industrial designer and an educator who loves exploring creativity through and self-awareness through making.
And we're so excited to have you join us here on Learning in the Making Live. I know this week has been a really hard week for many of you at home, and we hope this live stream creates a space for you to share your thoughts and use your creativity for a good cause. Bárbara, can you tell us what we'll be learning about today?
Sure, Linda. So we will be exploring storytelling, which is a must with what's happening right now, and through the stop motion animation. So we are telling stories through animation today.
Wow. Okay, so this is my first time using and making stop motion animation to tell stories. And I was super excited. But as we were preparing for the story, as many of you have heard about the different protests and maybe the uprisings that are happening in Minneapolis and across the United States for George Floyd and for Black Lives Matter, right? And this reminds me that there is such a long way towards justice and equality, and that far too many people's stories are being cut short by violence and racism.
How can we explain protest to kids? I was wondering. Kids that are unfamiliar to this.
Yeah, so I actually have some images and kind of a slide deck that was shared by Woke Kindergarten. So let me share my screen so that we can see that. So they are creating a woke word of the day, and the word that they had for May 30th was protest. And a protest is to show that you disagree with something by speaking up or taking action. And many protests are peaceful gatherings of people who are tired of injustice. Injustice is when something is unfair. And people who protest are called protesters, and protesters are really brave because they're standing up for what they think is right. And right now, people are protesting because Black people keep getting hurt and killed by police. And protests are a way to say that something is wrong and that things need to change. And protests are always a way to speak up for people who can no longer speak for themselves, right? George Floyd may no longer be able to speak, but all these people are rising up to be able to speak for him. And sometimes you might have heard that protests can become violent, and that's usually when police bring weapons and hurt or scare protesters, and sometimes they even get arrested. I also know that most of the protests that are happening are nonviolent. And without protests, people might not listen, and unfair things might not change. So as a kid, you can protest too. Many kids make signs that say how they feel. And other kids use their voices to protest. They show up and they speak up about what they deserve. So when I think of what's happening right now in the United States, I think of my students, my friends, and my neighbors. And I know that I don't want that to happen to them. So I wanted to make sure that we use this opportunity that we have to show our support.
I agree with you, Linda. This could be anyone. And I think that more than ever, regardless of our nationality, we have to act as a community and stand together and support one another. And actually, making is a great way to share our stories, the stories that matter. And when you listen to people's stories, we can empathize, and that brings us together as an humanity. and we can learn and take action and make something about it and then create change.
Wow, that's such a meaningful way to use making. And I think it's really important to speak up when we see injustice happening and continue to remember all the people who cannot. So I know my students are watching me and they want to know where I stand. So I want to show them that I will show up for them in our community. So how can we use animation to share these stories?
Well, before we tell stories, let's start by exploring what animation actually is. So, okay, let's make a quick activity. It's called a thaumatrope. It's the simplest way of motion toy. So what we are doing is first, we need to cut two circles, two blank circles that are equal. And let's think of two things that represent how we are feeling about the unrest that is happening. So we can split these two feelings into two images. Then we can draw or illustrate one of the images on each circle so they can complement each other. What did you make, Linda?
So two feelings, or maybe more than two feelings that I have right now is that I'm feeling a lot of sadness and anger. And I know when I'm sad or when I'm angry, both of those instances, I might cry. So I drew some teardrops. I also wrote Black Lives Matter on the bottom. And something else that I have right now is a lot of love for all the people who are showing up and showing support. What do you have on yours? I saw like a hand and a heart.
Awesome. Yes, I thought in drawing a hand that stands for giving, solidarity, making something, just doing something in general, and a heart. But I think it's really important that we understand and through the human kindness, and it's a way of representing, like giving our heart out.
Okay, so now that we have these two images, what do we do with them?
So we will need a dowel or a stick or something. I used a brush.
I have a pencil. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So we need to make a sandwich with the two images facing upwards and the stick in the middle. You can use any kind of glue or tape or whatever you have to put them together. And once we are done, we have our thaumatrope. But the fun part of it is we have to put it between our hands and spin.
Whoa, look at that. It looks like my heart is crying.
Whoa, I love yours.
I love yours too. Okay, so this is so cool. How do we use this concept to create our stop motion animation?
Well, this is the basic principle of animation that consists in tricking our brain. Animation, it's making the illusion of movement. And if I did this, and then this, and then this, we won't see or perceive any movement. But as I doing like really, really fast, it gives you the sense of it. So that's what animation is all about, tricking our brain. So today, we will be doing that like hundreds of times.
All right, so what is our first step?
Well, before we start making, we have to think of a concept. A concept is what story do we want to tell to the world? What do you have in mind?
So since I want to create a story that addresses the injustices that Black Americans face, I want to think of the message that I want to share. So what are we trying to communicate to people who watch our stop motion? So I have some messages that I know I want to include. One of that is that I want to make sure that I include all of their names of the people who are victims of police violence and racism. Right, and there are a lot of names, and I couldn't include everybody's names, but I tried my best to use as many as I could. Another message that I wanted to include is that this is a time for us to really create justice, equality, and liberation, because that is what everyone deserves, and we can't have that until Black people do too. And so now that I kind of have my message, what message do you want to include in your story?
Well, I was thinking in highlighting the importance of human kindness and being open to listen, learn, empathize, and take action, regardless of our nationality. So, how people from different cultures and backgrounds can stand together in solidarity. So, I think that's the story I want to tell today.
Wow, that's super powerful. So now that we kind of have our message, we want to think about the images that we're going to use. Some of the images that I want to use include fire. I know that in the news right now, there might be a lot of highlights of like fires and things burning. So it can represent anger or destruction. But I know that in a lot of cultures, fire can also be used for healing and for cleansing. So this is a Palo Santo, and it's made out of a wood in Peru, and it is used as a way to cleanse and to heal. I also wanted to use some kind of images of plants to symbolize birth and regrowth, because it's really important for us to have hope that things can change. What are some objects that you're going to be using, Barbara?
That's awesome, Linda. I want to see what did you came up with. So I wanted to try animating a daily object that I found at home, because animation, anything, it's animatable. So I thought in using bread. And I started thinking, like, how can I represent diversity? So I will use my toaster to get different temperatures and different colors on different breads. So that will represent diversity. And I'm also using a cookie cutter that is heart-shaped. So I can represent that openness and love and sharing through to the Black people.
I am so amazed by your idea and creativity. I never would have thought of using toast. So I'm excited to see what your animation is going to look like. So now that we have our idea and our images, what's the next step? So
Well,
Barbara is switching.
yes, the next step, it's coming up with a plan for making our animation so we don't get lost. So we will be using 3 post-its to communicate the 3 key parts of our story. So in each post-it, we will draw each one of the main episodes. So what do you have in mind?
So I know that I first want to show their names. So I've written a lot of their names, and handwriting them has taken me a long time because the list just continues and continues. The next is I want to use the image of fire as like we're burning injustice, so that like injustice can disappear, like it's getting cleansed. And then I want to show that from the ashes of the fire we can grow. Like we can grow equality, we can grow justice and liberation. So those are my 3 episodes. What are you thinking for yours?
Yay, you have a plan now. So I will be using 4 different breads, which represent diversity, and they are starting to move and take action, and they are not comfortable. And then they are sharing their solidarity and love. So that's why I draw a heart. And they are also open to learn. So they will have like this heart hole inside of them. And at the end, they are sending and joining all the Black people to support and to be solidary. So that's what my story is all about.
Amazing. That's really cool that you're doing that all with toast. So now that we have our storyboard, mine doesn't look as nice as yours. But what do we do next?
Okay, there's one more step before we jump into animating, that is gathering all of the materials we are using. So I'm using a cell phone, which I will take my pictures, but if you have at home a tablet or a camera or a computer, that's fine. I also will be using toast and another toast and lots of toast and a cookie cutter. And also I will use this yellow background. What are you using, Linda?
Mine is a lot more simple. I'm using a lot of paper. So my background is just a black sheet of paper, and I've made all types of different things with paper, such as words that I've written and cut out. I've created some fire. I also cut out some like strips of colored paper so that I can make a plant. Like, and then I'm using an iPad to take my photos.
Okay, so I think we're ready to go. Let's animate. So I will share my screen. I will open my camera.
Okay. That's so cool that you're using a cell phone to do this. Let me stop my video so we can just see yours.
Okay, awesome. So I put the grid because the grid option helps us understand where we are placing of objects, and it's like a good reference. So I will show you a few steps of how it's made. So I have my first frame that will be my bread, and I'm shooting a picture, my first picture. It's the position number 1. And then I will make a slight change, and then I shoot another one. That's position number 2. I change another one, position number 3. Another one, position number 4. And this will give me the feeling that the bread is moving and it's not comfortable. So then your story can be made of hundreds of pictures, so be patient. I will just show you this.
Okay. So something that I had a lot of trouble with when I was making mine was that keeping my camera really still was hard, like just trying to like keep it from shaking. So what I did was I just used 2 cans that I had. So these are kombuchas, and I stacked them together and to make a stand that my iPad could sit on, and then I can take photos without my iPad moving around.
That's a very clever way to do it. I like it. I have been using also a cup, and then you can put your cell phone in, and it works like great for stability.
Wow, that's super cool. Okay, so now that we've taken our photos, what should we do with these photos?
Okay, so next we're uploading all the pictures to our computer or the device we are using for editing. And I will share my screen to show you what's next. We will be using Google Slides, as is a tool that everyone that has a Gmail account can use. It's super simple, but if you want to go more complex, there are many tools out there for you. So we create the slide, and we will insert each one of the images in order. So that will tell the story. So I will upload for my computer my first shot. Here it is, and I will it was backwards. I will change it. Whoops. Okay, and then another slide, it's another frame, that's another picture. So I will insert another one, image, upload, image number 2. And another one, new slide, new frame, new picture, insert image, upload from my computer, image number 3. And now if I go like through them just manually, I can see like the perception of movement.
Super cool. So I've done that on mine. And once you have all of yours already uploaded onto your slides and they're in order, it'll look something like this. So I have mine right here. You can see that they're in order. Some of the things that I did was that on frames that I wanted to give more time to, I repeated them. So you'll see down here, I copied and pasted a lot of the different frames so that they would repeat. And I did that for other places where I wanted the words to show for a longer time. Like right here, all of these are just like the same.
Whoa, you have a lot of frames.
I have a lot of frames, and I actually wish I made more at the beginning because I was less patient and I just like jumped to a bunch of words. I wish I like actually did them one by one because I think it would make it look smoother. Once you do that, you're going to go into File, and then you're going to go Publish to the web. And then a window will open. We're going to change this to every second. I want it to start the slideshow as soon as the player loads. And I want it to restart the slideshow after the last slide. And then I already published mine, but if it's the first time for you to publish it, this is going to be clickable and you click it. Then this link right here is going to be your animation. So I'm going to copy that and go into a new tab.
I'm dying to see.
Yeah. My internet is also, my computer is a little bit mad at me, so it might take a while for it to load. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. You can notice that at the beginning, before I made my stand, that it was like all kind of wiggly.
Before the cans.
Yeah, before the cans. I'm realizing that this is really slow, Barbara. How do I make this faster?
Yes, well, the thing it's slow because Google Slides gives you the option that the minimum amount between each frame it's 1 second. But there's a trick for it. Let me show you.
Okay.
Okay, so I will go to mine. Oh no. Here. Can you see mine?
Yes.
Okay, if I click, that's the same link that you got. So it's the same time. It's 1 second and 1 second and 1 second. But if you read the link, I will pause this. If you go to the last part, there's, I'm underlining this. It says delays 1,000. That means that my second equals 1,000. So what I will do is I will decrease that amount and make it, I don't know, in my case, I will put 200. So let's see what happened. 200, and then I click go.
Whoa, that's so fast.
Yes, and I have my animation. Let's go from the beginning.
This is amazing.
Bread sharing club. So that's the trick. And you can change it to 200, 300, 500, or a bigger amount. So do you want to try it on yours, Linda?
Yes, let me try it on mine. And yours is so beautiful, Barbara. It's so heartwarming. It makes me smile. Okay, so here is my screen. And you said in this link, we're going to change that 1,000. So I'm going to copy this link.
Yes, and the good thing here is after you're done and you like it with 200, 500, then you can share it with your friends and that's it. It stays with the number and just send it to your friends and you can share your story.
Okay, so I think yours was a little fast. I'm going to use 500 instead, and let's see what that looks like. That was my animation.
Yay!
I
We
wish
did
it
it.
had sound. That's what it needs. It needs some like sound or music.
Yes, well, right now we didn't add some music, but you can do it at home. You can add also some text, some images from the web, so you can make like a collage or music. And if you want to go further, this was just to get the feeling of it, and it's really accessible. But there are some platforms of software that are out there that you can use. The one of them that I found really useful when working with kids or teens, it's called Stop Motion Studio, and it's free and you can upgrade it like to more resources. And also, if you like video editing, also Premiere Studio, it's a software that works awesome, but depends on your needs and what you're doing. There are a lot of resources out there. We will include them on the link.
Yeah, so definitely please share with us your stories of solidarity and about how you're feeling right now. I know many of you at home may be confused and feeling a lot of emotions and not sure what you can do to help. And one way you can support is to tell stories and to show your support.
Yes, it will be like really meaningful for us and for the world to see what you're making and know your stories. And please share using the hashtag Stop Motion for Black Lives, Justice for George Floyd, and join the conversation. You can listen, learn, and act. And I would like to tell you that making is caring, even if you can go out and do something. Making is very powerful, and now we need a lot of makers and a lot of people with heart to tell stories.
Yeah, so if you would like to see the project guide for how to create a stop motion, you can go to our description below. We have a project guide in both English and Spanish, as well as more resources and inspiration you can do at home in the link in the description. I'm also going to share my screen because I have some resources and ways that you can take action. So let me share my screen with you so that you can find some steps of what you can do right now. So some things that you can do right now is that you can donate. There are lots of different organizations that are doing a lot of good work. You can act by demanding justice for Floyd, by reaching out to your Congress people and your representatives. You can listen. There are lots of different podcasts. There are lots of people trying to tell stories about what's happening right now. You can read all different types of stories and books about racism and how to combat racism. And there are lots of different types of movies, documentaries, and videos that you can watch that will speak on this. And then, so I wanted to leave us with the voice of one of the people who have been sharing their story right now. His name is, I believe, Kidron. And I'm just going to leave us with his voice. And as always, we'll be learning in the making.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
Everyone, thank you. If you're still with us, thank you for joining us today.